PIX11 is honoring Black History Month, and we pride ourselves in celebrating the contribution of African Americans, not only during the month of February, but all throughout the year. And this morning, we're turning our attention to Black Wall Street.
So the Black business community in Tulsa, Oklahoma, known as the Greenwood district, was thriving for over a decade before the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre in June of 1921 left the town in ruins. Well, this morning we're joined by Anneliese Bruner, whose great-grandmother survived that massacre and wrote a first-hand account in the book Events of the Tulsa Disaster. So Anneliese, good morning to you. Thank you so much for being here and sharing such an incredible story with everybody.
Good morning, Dan and Hazel. I'm so happy and pleased to be here to share my story.
So, Anneliese, when did you first learn, I guess, that your descendants were residents of the Greenwood district and had lived through the Tulsa Massacre?
It was the early 1990s, as a matter of fact. I was in my mid-30s. I had no idea that my ancestors had lived through the disaster. But more shockingly, I had no idea about the disaster itself, having never heard of it from my father, who grew up in Tulsa, my grandmother, who also grew up in Tulsa and moved to California. And I never knew of my great-grandmother's existence and the work that she had done recording the very important history as it was lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921.
Yeah, so your great-grandmother, Mary Elizabeth Jones Parrish, she wrote a first-hand account of what happened during the massacre. And from what I understand, she had this book, and it was your father that gave it to you and said, do something with this?
That's absolutely correct. She wrote the book, she published it. It contained her eyewitness account of that experience with her young daughter. She was 31 years old at the time. My grandmother, her young daughter, was 7. And the book contains not only her own eyewitness account, but she was a trained reporter, and she reported the stories of dozens of other survivors and what they had experienced during that 2-day conflagration, where the 35 to 40 square blocks of the Greenwood district was razed to the ground.
Yeah, I mean,
and the book is now called The Nation Must Awake. So I have re-released the book. It does have a different title, but the complete text of her original work is included.
So what did you change the title to?
The Nation Must Awake, My Eyewitness to the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921.
Yeah, you know, and it's such an important history lesson, like you said, that so many just do not know about. In fact, I was reading about it last night just to kind of get a little more perspective on what exactly unfolded here. And this must have been difficult for you to read, right? Because this is your family that endured these conditions. So what was your initial reaction when you read what your great-grandmother and grandmother witnessed themselves?
I was stunned, as you can imagine, on several levels, as a matter of fact. I was absolutely mortified that something like this could have happened in our country, citizen against citizen, in a racially motivated attack. It happened under a false pretext where someone was falsely accused of assault, and that was the match that lit the flame that burned this wonderful community to the ground. The other level is the personal, the family level. I was just amazed that no one had ever said this to me. My father never mentioned a word other than to say, here's this book, do something with it. Beyond that, and before that, I had heard not a word of this.
And why do you think that is?
Not through school and not through family history.
Yeah, and why do you think that is?
There are several theories about why that happens. People have likened it to the silence of Holocaust survivors, for example, who don't necessarily want to recount the horror that they have experienced. They don't sometimes want to burden their younger people and their families with these stories of these awful events. But also, people may have been intimidated into not saying anything. We do know that the history was actively suppressed by city leaders over the decades following the event, and people may have been afraid to even mention it. Also, perhaps there was the internal motivation of not wanting to talk about something for which it was clear there would be no justice.
Yeah, you know, and well, thank you for giving a voice, right, to so many of these stories. And so many worked so hard to open these businesses and put their whole life savings into these small mom and pop shops. Did your family own a business in this actual Greenwood district?
Actually, yes. It was the Mary Jones Parrish School of Natural Education. She was an educator. She taught at the local YMCA, but she also had her own private business where she took students, young women who were hoping to enter the workforce, as a matter of fact, because Tulsa was a booming oil town, and there was a lot of commerce. There were positions to be had for young people who wanted to work, and most often in those days, a woman was working in a secretarial capacity. So my grandmother, my great-grandmother, I'm sorry, taught typing. She taught shorthand and
Wow.
office procedures. And so she was doing a very brisk business. And on the night of the massacre, when it first began, May 31st, she had actually just dismissed her typewriting class. It was about 9:30 at night, which is what she recalls in the book.
Anneliese, unfortunately, we have run out of time. We would love to speak with you more about this important part of history that, unfortunately, not that many people, or a lot of people, don't know about. But we appreciate your time, and thanks for stopping by and sharing your family's incredible story with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll continue my work. Thank you very much, both of you.
And again, the book, The Nation Must Awake, My Witness to the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921, is available wherever books are sold.